Welcome to my art journal flip through. My name is Janny Kretlow and I'm just going to give you a brief tour of one of my art journals. I made this cover from scratch out of cardboard covered with fabric, and then I did some permanent ink rubber stamping on here, covered them with tea bags, some round, some rectangular, and then introduced a little bit of paint into the Mod Podge that I used on the cover to give it just a little tint of kind of a soft green color. Then I darkened the edges, added some little dangles on the spine. And one of the things I like about this book is that when you open it, there's lots of little interesting things sticking out of the pages. Little bits of ribbon, yarn, fabric, tabs, little dangles of charms, and other interesting little things to see. So let's go on a tour of the inside of the book. So I used a lot of different papers in here. I used some craft papers, and those that were white on the back, I did a lot of stenciling and spraying with spray inks such as the Delusions inks through stencils so that I could get these interesting patterns instead of just having plain white paper. I also at times use gesso through stencils and splattered with a toothbrush and that sort of thing to get different effects. So these quotes I found online or saw them in life and typed them up on my computer and cut those out. And I've used a combination of family photos and images that I find online. This is actually a family photo of my great-great-grandparents and great-great-granddad there as a baby. Little bits of embellishments. I use lots of postage stamps in my art. I have a friend who collects stamps and who gives me what he calls junk stamps, and I use them in art. So you'll notice that almost every page here has at least one postage stamp somewhere on it. Coffee dyed paper. This was a tablecloth that I bought, and I cut out the little flower looking things. Here's the center of one of these, and I used quite a few of those in this book as well. Lots of pockets with interesting things to explore and little tabs on the edges. I sewed around some of the pages in this book, not all of them, but some of them. Here's a place where I used a stencil and sprayed through with these Delusion inks. And I sprayed with several different colors so that the colors kind of blend and bleed a little bit. And then while I still have the extra spray on this side, I'll turn to a different page and almost like rubber stamp with it so that you end up with both the positive and the negative effect and you're not wasting ink. I used duct tape. This is a pretty duct tape that I bought at Staples. And this is a little piece that I found in the parking lot. It was garbage, and I just saw that and thought, oh, that would look good in an art journal. An inside page to an old book, a little bit of gesso applied through a screen. This is a page from an old journal. Many of my tags are decorated both sides. And anytime there is a flap in my art journals, there's always something interesting underneath the flap. So when you lift up a flap, there's always some kind of reward with some kind of a quote or a saying or a picture, something fun to look at. Back side here, same thing, got something here interesting to look at. More coffee dyed paper. This was an envelope that came in the mail with a window envelope. I put a picture behind it and sewed around and made it into a little art journal or junk journal embellishment. Here's a slide mount, some little fabric flowers. Again, this is one of the things that I did with the stencil. And I often like to punch little shapes to go on the edge of my pages and then tie a little bit of fabric or ribbon or yarn in. Some vintage lace. My pages are different sizes. That's intentional. I like having some small and some larger. This was a book page, and I did stenciling through it, stitched around. Another little slide out, another page that I coffee dyed from an old journal. Little doodads, more spraying through stencils. I have quite a few old postcards that were given to me, some from my family and some from a friend, and I like using those in my art as well. They're kind of fun. And here's a little fabric pocket that I sewed in. Another little postcard, just some fun things. Some more stenciling, tickets, little luggage tag, quite literally, Pan Am. Another little flap. It has a quote that kind of goes with the travel theme over here on the left side of the page. In places like this paper was just this dark brown or black color with white, and I used blending tools and Tim Holtz Distress ink pads to apply color here and there to just give it a little bit more interest. These little dangles, by the way, I learned how to make out of embroidery floss on a YouTube video, and those are kind of fun to have dangling off the edge of a page as well. Little piece of film negative here with a quote about life is like photographs, you need the negatives to develop. More quotes, more postage stamps, doily, pockets, another vintage postcard. Those are so fun to include, especially if there's writing and stamps. That one did not have writing and stamps, so I added my own thing there. Another tag, front and back. I use a lot of book pages in my art journals, but I decorate them up various ways. And I like to have books that are written in different languages. So in this book, I know I have 3 or 4 different languages, including some type of Asian there. I just think it's so pretty to have those different symbols. This is a fun one. It has a quote on one side, and the other side is a paint chip that I got for free at the hardware store. Another postcard. I have an old annual from a school from the 1930s, I think it is, and I cut out some of the images and used them throughout this book. That's what these are as well. So anyhow, that is one of my art journals. Thank you for going on this little tour with me. I hope that you enjoyed.